Hi everyone, this is Brian Neal with Tradetobefree.com and looking at some of the stocks that I have on my watch list this morning. And one of the first ones that comes up to mind is AMD. And AMD has actually beaten expectations by a couple cents on the bottom line, but I think 5-6% or so on the top line. And they've raised guidance for revenue quite a bit as well. And we can see a pre-market pattern here showing that the stock is, may open up 8-9% or so higher. And this one has a really good long-term trend. We can see going back a couple years that we got this really strong long-term uptrend here. It was developing this bearish head and shoulders pattern here, but it actually broke above the right shoulder and busted the pattern and is going higher since then. If we zoom in here, we can see more about what it's doing over the past year, and we can see that it's making higher lows and higher highs. It's gapping above, right about at the all-time highs, just below the all-time highs. Okay, so this is an interesting pattern. Looks like we've got, let's see, 3 higher highs and 3 higher lows. So it's a 3 rising valley or ascending base pattern that we got going here, and we're breaking above the top of the last high, and so that's bullish, a bullish breakout of that pattern. Like I said, it may break all-time highs near the open, but that all-time high level will act as resistance here. So this may set up the earnings eruptions trade. It's below the $20 price minimum I like to see, but I know this stock trades really well. It has a high float, but it has a lot of shares that trade hands every day. I think it trades like 8% of its float on average per day, so it moves really nicely. And when this stock breaks out on earnings beats, it tends to move quite a bit and do so fairly cleanly. So I would go ahead and put this on my radar for this morning. If it breaks above 1540, 1550 before the open, I'll be more interested in this, and then I'll be looking for a bullish pattern. If it doesn't qualify for the earnings eruptions trade by opening up higher than this, if it goes up a little bit more, it'll qualify as an earnings eruptions trading setup. But if it doesn't, then I'll be looking for a bullish pattern probably sometime this morning, because it tends to trade pretty cleanly. And another stock that beat and raised their guidance was United Steel, or U.S. Steel. And we've seen a lot of good moves out of natural resource stocks recently. We saw AK Steel make a nice move. Newmont Mining moved quite a bit higher yesterday on good earnings news. These stocks tend not to move as well overall. We're seeing this commodity rebound. I wouldn't call this a strong uptrend in the commodity-related stocks right now. I think it might be just a bounce at this point. So, I'm not too excited unless this thing moves quite a bit higher before the open, and then breaks above 27.20 after the open. But this stock tends to trade pretty well too. Like AMD, it trades a lot of its float per day. Not as much as AMD does, but it tends to move pretty well for a resource stock, and has good technical patterns that tend to work. The other stock I wanted to look at was EXAS. And this stock, again, like the other two, is just gapping a little bit, not quite high enough for the earnings eruptions trade. I mean, they're getting close. And again, if they move up a little bit more before the market open, I'll be playing that trading setup and taking a bigger position size, because that trade tends to have a very high likelihood of success, whereas the ones that don't gap as high and don't qualify in other areas tend not to have that high likelihood of success. I mean, there's a lot of day trading setups in the market that might have a 65% success rate, a 70% success rate, but you add in trading errors and other factors, bid-ask spread, and at some point it's just not worth the time with a lot of day trading setups, because they just don't move far enough. But for the day trading setups that have a real high likelihood of success and that make a big move, like the earnings eruptions trade, definitely I'm more interested in that. I'll take a big position size in those. And right now, of these three, I'm not seeing that trading setup yet. But it may, like I said, if these stocks do make a move ahead of the open and open higher, have a good bullish pattern ahead of the bell, then I'll go ahead and play that trade. So we'll have to see, once these stocks open up. The other stock I wanted to show you was Diebold. This stock actually missed or lowered guidance recently. I forget now which. I think they actually met guidance and lowered their, or met their estimates, but lowered their guidance, future guidance. So it sold off quite a bit, but it's formed a very good bottoming pattern. And we can see this on a 3-month chart here, on a daily chart. And if this thing breaks above yesterday's high this morning, that could be a nice trade. That could move, 4% to 8% pretty quickly within the next couple days. So that's another one I'm watching. Think of another one here, Changyu. It's a little thinly traded. This is a Chinese stock, but it's got a nice pattern here where it's testing the highs 3 times, and it's in a very strong long-term uptrend, which is what you want to look for on any trade, whether it's a day trade or whether it's a swing trade or an investment. You want that long-term uptrend to be solidly in place. And you can see here it really is, and it's in this flat base pattern, and it's been testing this $41 level. Broke over a little bit yesterday, and if it breaks above the highs today, that could run a few percent at least, probably more like 10% over the next few days. So we got that on watch too. And I'm noticing right now that U.S. Steel is starting to move now, after their or during their earnings conference call that's going on right now. So by the open, that may be over. I'll have to check. So that's setting up a little bit better now. But yeah, that's about it. We may have the first 1 or 2 earnings eruptions trades today. Again, if these stocks move a little higher before the open, which will be really exciting. And the natural resource stocks moved a lot yesterday, but we also had a big surge in the price of copper. Oil had a nice day. Natural gas, I think, had a good day yesterday. And so the commodities moved strongly yesterday. Now, whether they do that today or not is another question. And again, I wouldn't call, most of those commodities in a long-term uptrend. They're really not at this point. And whether they do or not in the months ahead or weeks ahead is, a fool's errand to guess. So I'm going to wait for those uptrends to become solidly established before I get too excited about natural resource stocks. Okay, so, but yeah, AMD, X, and EXAS are 3 stocks that may trigger that very high probability trade, and I'll probably have another episode later on this morning, early afternoon, and follow up on these and see if they triggered the trading setup and the entry point or not, and we'll see how they did. So, all right, that's it for now. Good luck, guys. Talk to you soon.